Not to deliberately start this review with the feeling of deja vu, but the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater series going into the 6th generation was burning hot. According to Tony Hawk, by 2002, all the predecessors, even on the PS1, were still in the top 10 highest selling games because they were that popular. So it wasn't a surprise when Neversoft confirmed that a 4th Pro Skater title was in the works just a month after the release of Pro Skater 3. Becoming more familiar with the 6th generation hardware, Neversoft were motivated to take full advantage of the power and capabilities of the PS2, Xbox, and GameCube, as the series was an example of excellence on that console. And they did that by massively changing the career mode formula. The way it worked in the first 3 games, you had a 2-minute time limit to complete as many of the goals as possible. Each one brought something new to the skating genre, including more tricks, more customization options, frames per second, NPCs, and more goals to complete on one level, but it felt like more of the same, just done with a high level of polish. But in Pro Skater 4, things are a little bit different.
Hey, if you want to open up some new places to skate, try talking to some of the guys with the arrows over their heads.
Yep, that cameraman summed it up perfectly. No time limits, you can free roam the map and complete goals individually by talking to people with arrows over their heads.
Ah, they're everywhere! Big elephants are everywhere!
It's a simple change that transformed the way everything works, and to this day, it's an extremely polarizing change of direction. Even in the Pro Skater 3 review, there were a lot of comments wishing Neversoft never changed the formula, that it affected the rest of the series in more ways negatively than just the way it plays. Then again, people are complaining about this open-ended career mode structure not being used for the 3+4 remaster, so it's clear you either really like this structure or hate it. Nothing in between. But for me back then, it felt like the best of both worlds. Also, I wasn't very good at it back then. I couldn't clear 100% goals in one run the same way I can now. First time I played this as a kid, the PS1 version more specifically, which has a similar structure, I just like being able to clear goals in a different way without loading times and free skating, hearing the songs in their entirety. But having just played Pro Skater 3 recently, completing it with every skater, I can now understand why Pro Skater 4 is so polarizing today.
Not bad.
The most glaring issue is how much it slows the game down compared to the first 3 titles, because it forces you to do only one goal at a time. One of the most satisfying parts of Pro Skaters 1, 2, and 3 is being able to create your own pathway to complete lots of different goals on a single level, and possible to complete the lot in the 2-minute time limit, which was very exhilarating. It made multitasking fun. Granted, it comes from playing the game repeatedly, since it takes no longer than an hour to beat, closer to half an hour by the time you get good at it, learning the level designs and special tricks when you edit them to go left right action button, which can be a criticism too. You essentially had to do the same thing over and over again to unlock all the bonus content. But we love it. It got a little repetitive doing it so many times in a short span because I was capturing gameplay for a review, but it's the perfect quick video game fix. But in Pro Skater 4, you can only perform one at a time. Most of the goals are like the first 3 games, including getting the high score, collecting the skate letters, floating items, and competitions, so it's not a complete rehash or anything, just limited to doing only one at a time.
Well, I gotta give you that one. That was a good ass run, bro.
The fact that you spend potentially the whole 2-minute time limit just finding new items and not being able to complete any other goal, it's as tedious as it sounds. High scores, you can't clear multiple score goals in one go. Competitions are restricted to a small portion of an area. You can't perform combos outside of it or otherwise it won't count. And you need to painstakingly speak to someone to start the goals with their own dialogue.
Looks like the dogs are feeling ornery. Must be that hot sun that drives them crazy.
It's only 1 or 2 sentences, but all these things really kill the flow, and if anything makes it more linear than appears on the surface. With one goal unlocking another, mostly story related, like trying to deal with animals at the zoo on the loose, or the floating item placement that can only be collected by following a specific skating line, and it can get ridiculous sometimes, like in Alcatraz for example. There could have been some goals that let you do multiple ones at the same time, or at least didn't require you to talk to someone to trigger the mission, much like what Underground 2 would later do in the series, as well as adding a classic mode, which I'll mention in a future review of that game.
Hey, not bad.
But on the other hand, it's a good way to increase the gameplay time without beating it with another skater repeatedly. Some prefer to do something different all the time. And the question of the flow slowing down, playing it again just a couple of months after playing this on Twitch this year, I noticed I was completing the goals faster, so in some ways, you get that type of replaying it makes you speedrun it faster feeling, even if it's a little more linear. I really hope that made sense.
Great job! Heck, son, there's no career in those extreme sports. Come to work here, and in 50 years, you'll get great retirement benefits.
You have much larger maps, which are a lot of fun to explore on single player. Again, because I grew up with the PS1 version as a kid, it felt cathartic to see what the proper versions of these levels look like on the PS2 with additional ramps, rails, and overall better level design in which the goals make every inch count. They're designed in a way to navigate a level faster if you know the layout well enough. Like goals that require you to hit checkpoints in a time limit, it's faster to grind on rails. They're placed in a way so you can skate around the level without barely jumping from one side to another. So staying in a combo is much easier because there's always something to skate onto in front of you. That said, there are certain areas that feel too empty. Like this part of Kona, USA, having ramps that are just a little too far away from each other. San Francisco along the roads and tram line and near the entrance of the zoo, it's literally just nothing. Clearly a competition spot where all the temporary ramps and rails are placed. But being individual goals, there's more variety in the type of goals you perform, like laying on your board, dashing through a snake run, and skitching behind a car, catapulting yourself into oblivion. I'm writing the script before the release of the remake, so if they include goals similar to the ones in the original Pro Skater 4, I wonder how they'll add the ones that have their own controls and animations. The character models could look a lot better than that, especially the NPCs. One that's meant to be a skater kid, but you're not fooling me with those tattoos. And Ollie the Magic Bum looks like Ollie the Magic Werewolf.
If I didn't see that with my own crossed eyes, I'd never believe it. Will you marry me?
Models of the skaters are okay at least, including voices from every one of them when you either select them,
Hey, let's do this.
or bail. The soundtrack probably loses a step, like I don't listen to it as often outside of playing this game compared to the first three titles, but it's still an epic and memorable soundtrack nonetheless, including a few that I recognized before I knew they were in this game, like Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden, Anarchy in the UK by the Sex Pistols, Express Yourself by NWA, and of course, TNT by AC/DC, which is used in the game's opener, one of the most iconic in the franchise. And the number of songs is higher, with 37 compared to Pro Skater 3, which had 20, so more variety too.
Hey man, come over here.
Another advantage to this structure is the amount of overall content, which has taken an extra quantum leap when you look at how many different moves you can perform compared to Pro Skater 3. The hidden combos return, though they're no longer hidden. As you can see from the trick list, each direction on the D-pad has an extra trick next to it. If you press the action button twice, it does a slightly different version of that move, essentially doubling the number of different tricks you can perform during gameplay without feeling too complicated. This was something that became second nature to me thanks to growing up with Underground 2, but Pro Skater 4 introduced it. This means a lot of the tricks that were considered specials like Christ Air, Sack Tap, and Casper are normal tricks now, but you still have a lot of special tricks here, particularly ones that fit the Pro Skaters' personalities, like Steve Caballero playing the guitar or Kareem Campbell dribbling a basketball, for example. Although, as I'll get to, it's one of many reasons the Tony Hawk franchise was becoming more like a universe that fits closer to Crash Bandicoot or Spyro the Dragon rather than an authentic skating culture, if that makes sense. Like Pro Skater 3, the more goals you complete, particularly ones that require you to perform a specific special, the more special slots you unlock to give you more opportunities for higher combos. Grab, flip, grind, manual. This is honestly the last time I'll mention how the basic skating mechanics work, because there's no major difference other than adding more to it with slightly improved animations, so by default, the controls are superb.
You found them all!
Other new moves include skitching behind other vehicles, some of which are necessary to complete certain goals, and being able to grind on the vehicles as opposed to tapping them to avoid being run over. Though I wish it didn't cut away from the skater like that because it's really distracting while trying to keep my balance. However, another new trick that is probably just as innovative as the revert is the spine transfer, where you jump from one quarter pipe to another right in front of you by pressing R2 in mid-air, which can also be used to level yourself in mid-air before slamming to the ground. It's super handy for either getting up a ramp more easily or avoid bailing from a good combo, all because of a misplaced air or transfer.
I knew you had it in you! Good job!
Instead of finding stats scattered all over a level, they're now earned from completing goals individually. And what you set them to will carry to every skater you choose and can be altered at any time. So say you have a challenge that requires you to essentially max out the lip stats for a specific goal, God help us all. You can do that and switch it back again. To unlock all the bonus stuff, cash returns from Pro Skater 2 and is scattered all over the level, as well as being earned from completing goals, playing tennis and basketball, and can be used to purchase decks, special clothing to customize the skater with. So it's been altered to accommodate the open world style and make you think more about what you want to spend your money on, no matter how much of it you got. By the way, the customization feature works exactly the same way as Pro Skater 3, a few extra clothes with colors that can be fine-tuned, decks that have different grip tapes, so like the controls I don't need to repeat myself too much. It's good to see Bob Burnquist return to the series. It just didn't feel right, his absence in Pro Skater 3. Much like when Bam Margera was initially not included in the 3+4 remake, it felt like a void that was hard to ignore.
I just punched myself in the face for you and you're not gonna pick me? Yeah, you. What are you looking at?
Mike Vallely, or Mike V, also makes his debut to the series as an unlockable. Why he can't just be part of the regular lineup, I don't know. And other bonus skaters include Jango Fett from Star Wars Attack of the Clones, who has the most overpowered special of the whole Tony Hawk franchise, and Eddie the Head, the mascot of Iron Maiden, since the song Number of the Beast appears in the soundtrack and has the best skateboard deck designs. Both characters truly a merchandising dream, right? I certainly think so. And of course, to unlock the pro videos, which are just as entertaining as the first 3 Pro Skater titles, each skater has their own unique goal which fits with their skating style or trademark spot, including the half loop from Bob Burnquist, the 15 billion manual variations in one combo by Rodney Mullen.
That was good. Keep it up.
Or Tony Hawk's extended quarter pipe gap.
Cover shot!
That's another advantage of this career mode formula. It's a good way to make use of every single skater for one career mode profile.
And cut! That's a wrap, folks!
However, because of the open world career mode, there are no bonus classic levels, unfortunately. The closest thing to that is a level from Matt Hoffman's Pro BMX 2, which is definitely not designed for skating on, especially technically being the final level of the career mode. The goals are at their hardest. Even with decades of experience with the franchise and full stats, I barely struggled to complete a single goal on that level. That might explain the steep price tag. That's one of the other big changes that affect the career mode, the difficulty curve. The first few goals serve as a tutorial for the skating mechanics, which is part of the reason why the open world formula was disliked by so many. However, since you are focused on one goal at a time, it only makes sense to make it as difficult as possible by the time you reach the second half. Particularly when you unlock the pro goals. This can include really long grinds, time limits with literally just a few seconds, lots of specific tricks to perform in a single combo, or a huge combo lines that literally go from one side of the level to another. You might have to spine transfer, but because focus mode and being able to get off your board don't exist yet, it's easy to underestimate the difficulty on the first playthrough. However, you can retry instantly after you fail without any loading times, and because the controls are tight, the fault is mostly on yourself, so it's very satisfying when you clear these goals this far into the career mode. Before we conclude, let's quickly look at the PS1 port developed by Vicarious Visions, who also made the Game Boy Advance ports of the whole Pro Skater series on that console, which should get its own review one day, and the 1+2 remake, so they're almost as affiliated with the franchise as Neversoft. Again, like Pro Skater on the PS1, this was the only way I could play Pro Skater 4 when it first came out that year. I remember getting this as a Christmas present in 2002 while we were on holidays. Yes, Santa knowing which caravan park we were staying in and what I wanted just before Christmas itself. Sounds legit. Anyway, this uses the same Pro Skater 2 engine with all the sound effects and animations, some taken from Pro Skater 3 on the PS1 as well. The level designs are similar too, though because they're much larger in the PS2 version, all of them have been condensed, including most of the lower area of Alcatraz, part of the pier in London, and the carnival and zoo levels are omitted entirely. Instead, it has an exclusive level set inside the sewers with 3 separate mini areas full of ramps and rails, including a bowl that looks similar to the halfpipe from Skater Islands, and the shipyard has an indoor area which I'll never forget, thanks to Alyssa Sneema's pro goal being borderline impossible to understand how to complete it. When I beat this game for the first time all those decades ago, it was the very last goal of the whole game. It took me over an hour to figure out. It was before the days of reliable internet, so I had to work it out myself, and it was torture. And it's not just Alyssa, there are plenty of goals where knowing what to do is just as much of a challenge as completing it, since the instructions are quite vague, particularly the pro ones. And if you 100% every goal, you unlock another bonus exclusive level called Little Big World, set literally on a kitchen bench. Yes, like something out of Toy Story, skating past the sink, the stove, pulling a 900 right near the windowsill. When I was a kid, I loved this level and thought it was worth the effort trying to unlock once I beat this game. But today it's bland gameplay wise, but still funny to look at. Like imagine a PS2 version of this level. Actually, we have the answer. Disney's Extreme Skate Adventure. So yes, as you just saw, it has the same career mode structure as the PS2 version in which you roam freely like free skate and complete the goals individually. Though because there are no pedestrians, goals are triggered by selecting the tokens color-coded based on difficulty levels. It includes about 60% of the soundtrack from the PS2 version, though you need to find half of those songs scattered on each level. Here's the condensed list. Some of the skating mechanics from the PS2 version are brought here too, including the reverb, pivot manuals, and the spine transfer. A way to get out of a bad quarter pipe situation, being able to press 2 to level yourself in mid-air, though it comes at the cost of the R1 and L1 buttons spinning 180 all the way around just by tapping it. So you don't have control over how much you spin, it's all or nothing. If you hold these buttons while in the air, you have more control, but I found myself losing plenty of good combos from this change, which was annoying. Anyway, double flip tricks are here too, though it can only be performed on quarter pipes, and a lot of times I only perform them by accident, much like left or right manual. However, once I discovered these tricks pound for pound give you more points than the 900, as YouTuber True Strider explained, a great review of this game, I discovered it makes it way too easy. Like Pro Skater 3 on the PS1, this is an alternative to those who couldn't afford a 6th gen console in 2002 yet. But despite putting hundreds of hours into this game, it did feel good coming back to it and clearing all these goals faster than I could have imagined when I was a kid. I can only call this decent, just decent. Still has a lot of pieces that made the first 3 PS1 Pro Skater titles good, but it feels even rougher around the edges and a lot more content is taken out compared to the PS2 version. So I honestly don't recommend it. Though again, a neat little curiosity to see what a PS2 game looks like if you downgrade it to a previous generation. That's what I like about these type of ports. Unlike the last couple of generations that were mostly turned down the graphics settings, back then you had to essentially make a different game but still keep 70% of the content, really trying to push the console to its limits. It's fascinating to me. Whether the Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4 career mode structure was a good thing for the series is up to you, because it not only changed how you completed goals, but also the way skaters, characters, and the universe present themselves. More like a skating carnival with superpowers rather than a skating culture of iconic spots and graffiti. Especially by the time the series went underground, it continued to ramp up the silliness of the goals, the special tricks, right up to the point where it probably went too far. While I agree having individual goals slow the game to the point where it's more annoying than fun. The 2-minute formula just gives you a better adrenaline rush. Pro Skater 4 is still very enjoyable. Honestly, I give Neversoft credit just for trying something new with only a 1-year development cycle. There are more than enough benefits to this format, including larger levels, more content, and excellent skating mechanics that give you more to perform without feeling too overwhelmed. After hundreds of hours put into the PS1 ports of Pro Skater 3 and 4, I'm just really glad to play it on a console that it was made for. In fact, thanks to Twitch, I played these two a fair bit throughout the whole year. So even with the release of the 3+4 remake, you certainly won't be wasting any time going back to the originals.
Good job, man!
Thanks everyone on Patreon, including Anthony Cossins, Bibbs, Riddleberg, Cooper Munn, Darcy McIntosh, Emmanuel Figueroa, Atmosphere, Indie DM, Oscar, Night Kid Gaming, Peter GT, Ruben Pekong, Sam Sneed, Tickford45, Thomas Rosendale, UZ Racer, Will Stokes, and everyone for watching this review. Spenny out.